The whole time I was watching this movie, I'm like, man, what would their health score be? I think the health department would shut them down. They had really, really bad like etiquette in the kitchen. I mean, I expect cocaine in the kitchen at a restaurant. In fact, I prefer it. But other than that, like, I don't want you vomiting at a restaurant. I don't want you stabbing your hand and still prepping food. I don't want you doing things like that. That is what we call gross. Okay, so this movie is about Anthony Bourdain, and it's called Tony. I have a friend named Tony. Hey, Tony, you're not watching this. You should be watching it. You should support me more, but you don't. All right, Tony is a misguided, not my friend, Anthony Bourdain. Tony is a misguided young man whose moral compass is firmly tucked in his back pocket as he traverses life with reckless abandon. The ever slouching, selfish liar lures others in with his charm, but his empty promises often forces them to resolve issues he creates. His tenure at a Cape Cod restaurant develops his interest in the culinary arts, while his lies and tension with a love interest brew and build in the background. He is lying his way to success. We don't see the success in this movie per se, but like where he ends up in his career because you have the context of real life. This is focused on a summer when he's 19 years old. He's in college. He lied. Either is like, I guess he's in college already. He lies about getting a fellowship at this school as a writer, and instead he follows this woman in a delayed way. He doesn't like actively follow her, but this woman he has a crush on says she will be in Cape Cod for the summer. He follows her up there eventually and just keeps trying to lie his way into her pants and lies his way into the hammock of a restaurant owner and sleeps there. He's lying his way everywhere, and this lie mostly lands him in a restaurant. And this restaurant is owned by this very compassionate, measured, mature man played by Antonio Banderas, and everyone else around Antonio Banderas is immature, is erratic, is dangerous, is degenerate. But yeah, Anthony Bourdain is also in that bunch of rambunctious guys where he is just a problem. Okay, so Tony is a compelling character study of one of America's most beloved personalities. However, the movie focuses on a single summer of his life and marinates in the mayhem he caused and the personal and career growth that summer would later inspire. You spend significant time with Tony and just a hell of a crew of guys that he works with alongside in a kitchen. Again, Anthony Bourdain is a mess. These other guys are also a mess. And the only mature figure in this movie is the restaurant owner, played by Antonio Banderas. But this film finds an engaging balance of raunchiness and reflection, progressing from a Marty Supreme-esque tale of just constant, terrible decision-making to a poetic portrayal of the chaos and camaraderie needed to breed brilliance. Needed, I don't know, but like a lot of people of success, more importantly of talent and skill, they come from these like chaotic backgrounds and they find their way to their design path. And that is interesting to me. That's interesting to a lot of us. And this movie is kind of a reflection of that. You don't see the success here, but you do see the brewings of brilliance by watching Anthony Bourdain, Tony, grow into his name of Anthony. The more mature version of Tony is Anthony. You see him accept his fate as a more mature person. But along the route to accepting his fate, he is a terrible, a liar, a thief, a manipulator. He's a sleazeball, slimy, slouched. He's just like, look at that guy. He's a villain. He is a villain. But like a lot of villains, there's something charming about him. So as an audience member, you're watching him do terrible things to people and be a sketchy person all around, get caught up with the wrong guys to a degree. But you ultimately kind of feel like there's a reverence there. There's something about, hey man, a lot of people fell upwards, and this just seems like one of those tales, and I'm here for it. I actually joked that this film could have an alternate title of White Privilege Failing Upward, because it's just like, how many drugs and addictions and lies and like questionable circumstances can you find your way in if you look like me now, but especially in 1970? Like, how many times could you do that and then end up in a good place? I don't know. But this movie is really good. The side characters here are immaculate. There's a guy that was in Tuner. He starred in Tuner. He's here as like this really bad guy, but seems like a lot of fun if you're into doing like really immature things as a young college kid. Seems like the perfect guy to hang out with. Then you have Stavi, the heavier comedian, the Greek comedian. Stavi just has this like welcoming, warm presence about him. When I hear his laugh, I get happier. When I see his face, I get happier. He's so unserious in everything, and he's really good here. And he has like dramatic chops as an actor. He played and it was comedic. But he played an actor in Begonia. He was in Begonia as a cop, and he's here as like a like a chef in this little like sketchy restaurant. This restaurant, I can't tell if it's good or not. It seems, because the character jokes that it's fast food, it seems like it's lowbrow cuisine, but then it also does feel like the chef has like a history of culinary talent. And maybe that is kind of the point here. Is this chef is proof that talent doesn't always get you to where you want to be. I mean, owning a restaurant is great, but it doesn't seem like this is like a beloved restaurant. It just seems like a place you go because you're in town. But yeah, this movie is really good. One of the themes here is about being a writer. Anthony Bourdain's character, Tony, keeps saying that he's a writer. He's not writing anything in this movie. He's sketching. He's living life, but he's not writing. And I think there's something interesting there, because as a writer, both professionally for a living, I wouldn't really call it a living, but for some money, I write. And then I also write creatively. And I feel like you have to live life to be a good writer. I think you can have talent to be a good writer, but like what you're saying isn't necessarily interesting until you have, for me, it feels like some pain behind it. And I feel like this is kind of watching the development of maybe whatever stories Anthony Bourdain would later tell in his life. Wasn't a fan, couldn't say. It does feel like this is the footing for that. He's finding himself. He's finding the rhythm he needs as a human to then build the momentum to become an actual writer, as opposed to just the theoretical writer that he is in this movie. I really like that. I really like how he says that lie the most times. He lies a lot about a lot of different stuff, but he says that the most times because I think he wants that to be true the most. And I like that. There's also, obviously, Anthony Bourdain died of not ideal circumstances. People go out their own way. I don't want to say that word here on YouTube because apparently like they don't like when you do that. But there is mention of that in this movie, not of Anthony Bourdain himself, but of apparently Louis the 14th's chef took his own life in his own way. And there's like a small moment, but it's very impactful about that subject matter in this movie. And I thought that was very touching, because a character asks like, why did he do that? And there's not an answer. And I think that's kind of how it is. There's not an answer. Like, we all go our own way, but there was some dissatisfaction portrayed in that moment about the Louis XIV chef and how you could apply that to Anthony's own life eventually. He has a contentious relationship with his mother, and it's not hovered over too often, but it's very effective. It's like, oh, she calls him Anthony, everyone else calls him Tony. There's some friction there. Oh, he calls home because he disappears from home, and she's just yapping and yelling and blah, and you can see why he wouldn't want to go back to that. But you can also see a lot of his brilliance comes from his mother. His mother is very intelligent. She's very quippy and witty, and those are things that he is. In fact, one character in this movie says like, he's like, man, my mom does that. And she's like, well, why do you do it then? And I think that's a question we all ask ourselves as we age. It's like, why do we do what our parents did? Why are we repeating the things we dislike about them? And that's just part of the human experience, obviously. But I think that was a very good moment as an audience member, because you're sitting here thinking like, this movie has very touching themes in it amidst all this chaos, and I really like that. So I'm giving this movie a 9 out of 10. Really no major flaws. It's just not a thing I'd revisit. And there are so many great movies coming out. It's like, is this as good as The Invite? No. Is this as good as I feel like Spider-Man or The Odyssey was? No. But it's damn good. I might buy it one day. You should totally watch it. Like, in theaters preferably, because I think these little independent movies need to, continue to stay afloat in theaters before they hit streaming. But yeah, check it out when it comes out in a few days, maybe. Don't know. 9 out of 10.